The thumbnail and title are clickbait.
I'm back, and that is technically not lying because this isn't really a debunk video. I mean, it kind of is, but it really isn't. I'll be addressing a few things within the video to like clear things up because it's not as much of a stomp as he made it out to be. And don't worry, there's gonna be no toxicity, no none of that, because the guy was actually chill when I talked to him, and he like agreed to allow me to make this video in the first place. So we pushing peace, bro. We pushing peace. So with all that being said, let's just hop right in.
The strongest mad guy can affect countries, maybe even worlds, at most. However, in the Shinza Bansho universe, reality itself is rewritten by the gods' personal laws, enforced by the throne.
This is massive downplay, especially if you're talking about true magic users who should just be beyond the system of the earth entirely. Dead apostle ancestors are stated to be equivalent to divine spirits. This statement can be interpreted in two different ways. The first interpretation is that the comparison refers to divine servants, also called pseudo-servants. The second interpretation is that they scale to the full existence of a divine spirit. The first interpretation, we know that divine spirits must be diminished just a fit inside of a serving container. Because of this limitation, we can assume that their power, while inside a serving container, should be on the level of top servants. This would mean they possess the energy needed to replicate the feats of other high-tier servants or top servants. For example, Altera being able to destroy the moon cell. For reference, the moon cell is a multidimensional recording device with enough processing power to observe an infinite number of parallel worlds and store the complete data of each one. Within the moon cell exists the core, which is an infinite distance away from the seventh layer. To traverse the infinite distance, BB drew power from the imaginary number space and turned herself into an infinite concept. I explained the moon cell scaling and nature in much greater detail in my 20-minute Gilgamesh video and in my 3-minute Saber video, so if you want a deeper breakdown, you can check those out. But if you want a moon cell video by itself, then please like the video. The second interpretation is that they scale to the full existence of a divine spirits existing on a higher plane of existence known as the inner sea. I'll explain that later, so I won't go into full detail here, but anyone capable of fighting a dead apostle ancestor such as Seal should possess the energy needed to contend with that level of power.
The mechanism that defines all existence. If a Hado god's law declares something absolute, no amount of mana, ritual, or computation can override it. Magecraft isn't entirely useless, but it doesn't really matter once a god's law covers all reality. Imagine a mage casting a spell to stop time, only to realize that time itself has been redefined by someone who controls infinite timelines.
He brings up an image of Alco. I don't know if he's actually referencing her power specifically, but if he is, this just wouldn't work. Because first, we already know true magic transcends that of the earth, and the earth contains infinite parallel timelines, specifically human order, but not the entire planet, the entire celestial body, but specifically human order does. And she just transcends those timelines, or her magic does. It would also be transcending things like all of the gods' authorities over time, authorities being conceptual expressions of omnipotence, of a god's omnipotence. And I'd argue that a god is way greater than a Hado god. I'm talking about gods in the Nasuverse being greater than Hado gods anyway. I could definitely make an argument for that, which I'm probably going to do later in this video, but still.
It's not that the spell fails, it's that the universe doesn't recognize what stopping time means anymore. Even true magic, which can reach higher planes, would struggle to have any lasting effect when those planes are constantly being rewritten by a Hado god's will.
This wouldn't matter, unfortunately. This is because true magic transcends finitude. Even the gods do in the Nasuverse. To explain what that actually entails or how that actually works, it transcends finite concepts. To explain, every being has a limit or a limitation, or they usually do. It's a boundary, something that they can't break. Like, for example, like laws, rules, a body, belief, energy, a physical form, etc., etc. All of those things are limitations. The gods in fate don't have those, as they are their own system itself. When they came into being, they were their own system. As in, for example, Zeus, who's the god of lightning or thunder, is the system in which thunder exists within, or lightning exists within. So he defines himself through their own internal logic, not through anything external. This is how, from the primordial stage of the earth, which is just nothing, a mash of literally everything in existence where nothing can be differentiated, yet they are capable of coming into existence from that, determining their own existence. becoming distinct from everything else. The decline of the Age of Gods, which caused the Age of Man, if you would like to say, or human order to manifest fully, Alaya attempts to impose limitations, which is why all of the gods return to the reverse side of the world, or the inner sea, where their powers should still be the same as what it was in the Age of the Gods, even if they seem to be degraded. Conceptually, they should still be the same existence. I probably butchered the fuck out of that explanation, mainly because I had to explain it in a lot more simple terms as much as possible without having to go on a 10-minute spiel about how this works. So, in short, Ayako should be on par with this, as well as any other true magic user. Like, they all should generally be on par with this.
Comes down to scale. The strongest heroic spirit can destroy worlds or resist conceptual attacks.
I'm pretty sure I proved that they're not just that weak, like where they only can destroy worlds, but true heroic spirits should also just be on par with the inner sea, since they exist inside of the inner sea of the planet, so.
But how do gods represent multiverses? When two gods fight, it's not two people clashing, it's two entire realities colliding and trying to overwrite each other. The counterforce, consisting of Gaia and Alaya, would immediately detect the Hado gods as threats. They do everything they could, summon guardians, manipulate probability, but the problem is these systems still have a limit. It's not like the planet can just create a being that transcends the throne. That's like saying
Actually, it lacks any limitations within its own category, as I've explained earlier. Also, heroic spirits are agents of Alaya.
Earth can actually create a being that's stronger than Akasha.
It can't, because Akasha, or the root, is perfect. It can't remake its unchangeable source. Nothing can, actually, because it's unchangeable, so to recreate it would imply that it has a beginning and end, which means it's changeable. It wouldn't be eternal, nor would it be unchangeable.
He could delete everyone on the planet with just a thought. The most Gaia and Alaya could do is beg for mercy, and maybe Hajun would accept.
I've shown that's not the case. Divine spirits alone could probably just beat the fuck out of Hajun.
I mean, unless she's shown the ability to override the power and authority of all other ultimate ones and fatherize them.
The Hado gods are more equivalent to normal divine spirits who are gods rather than a ultimate one. And considering she's the greatest manifestation of life and a ultimate one, and ultimate ones are outright stated to be able to destroy everything on Earth, I would just assume that she could fatherize everything on Earth.
In theory, this connection will grant her the ability to manipulate or rewrite reality itself. The problem is that this is all theoretical. Boichiki never once uses this power in any measurable way. Her connection to Akasha is more of a state of existence than a combat ability. There are no feats showing or reshaping worlds or overriding other concepts.
This is kind of nitpicky, but we definitely see her override concepts. Literally every time she uses the Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, she's doing that. But besides that, we don't need actual feats since we have tons of statements of her power. And feats are just like to emphasize power, said power. They aren't actually necessary for the statements.
Could maybe render him and other Hado gods killable, but don't quote me on that, because I don't really know if that's possible.
The Black Barrel would definitely work. The main reason why is because it worked on Zeus, and it's literally made for immortals, so it would definitely work. And Zeus is just massively stronger than most divine spirits, and as I explained, their scale of existence, you should see why it would work.
What I'm saying is, it's not impossible for the Nasuverse Earth and its inhabitants to still win, although they begin for the fight of their lives.
I disagree. I'd probably say he's like on par with Arjuna or something, like Arjuna Alter, not Arjuna Archer, but like one of the powerful Lost Belt Kings. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed, and peace out. Oh yeah, and remember, we're pushing peace, chat. We're pushing peace.